Dhankar, coming from the community that he does, the fact that he has an agrarian background, comes from the dominant Jat community, which is involved in farming and agriculture in a big way, it certainly helps to have him there. Let's not forget that politics and those who occupy constitutional position also embody the aspiration of people they represent. And in that sense, Mr. Dhankar brings along a great deal of virtues with him.
All right. And very quickly, he'll also have to now be the presiding officer in the Rajya Sabha. I'm assuming, of course, because of his legal background, that is something that would come naturally to him.
That's obvious because the vice president is, by definition, the chair of the House. And like I said, his legal acumen, his steadfastness to constitutionally laid down principles and procedures, as we've seen in West Bengal, despite grave provocations from Mamata Banerjee and the TMC, I think that is going to be a great advantage that he brings.
All right, Amit Malviya, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining us with the first BJP reaction to the choice of Jagdeep Dhankar as the NDA's vice presidential nominee. Let me go back to our reporters. Maria is also there. Maria, you know, with Draupadi Murmu, it was straight up, it was historic, the nomination of the first tribal woman to become the president of India. In Mr. Dhankar's case, what is the political calculation behind his choice?
Well, Zaka, I think the BJP also realizes that in the upper house soon, the primary opposition party in terms of numbers will be the Trinamool Congress. And given the manner in which the governor and the chief minister has had their equation, and also it is being sensed certainly that he played an important role in positioning and the views of the centre or upheld the constitution the manner in which he did, he will be able to understand the way the TMC will be functioning. But I think the bigger question now is, will Mamata Banerjee be opposing her candidature? What we are being told by top sources in the party is that Governor Dhankar, of course, has had run-ins with the chief minister. It's very clear how it has played out in the last few years since 2019 that he took the governor's office, became the governor in Bengal. But he's also someone who understands how TMC functions, how the state government has operated. So has there been some kind of understanding that has been reached between the BJP and Mamata Banerjee, because there was an important meeting, what sources say, that has taken place in Darjeeling as well. So Mamata Banerjee, what we are being told, Zaka, will be holding a meeting with the MPs of the party over of course, the stand that the party will be taking in the upcoming monsoon session that begins from 18th, but also there will be a call that will be taken on the vice presidential polls. So the candidacy of Jagdeep Dhankar is a googly, and I think it's less about symbolism but more about political calculations, understanding fully well that the dynamics in the upper house is going to change completely in the next few months.
Arun Dhanta is also there on the Smita Prakash, editor ANI, is now joining us. Smita, how would you characterize the selection of Jagdeep Dhankar as the NDA's nominee or the choice for vice president? Surprising?
Yes. Well, some people had guessed it as much. I think there were some 20 names which were everybody was guessing. But then, I mean, everybody's seen how the Modi government acts on these, people who you think are absolute sure shots get struck out, and there's always a surprise element in who they appoint. And quite clearly, as Maria was saying, that this is a political decision. It's a very strong political message, and especially I think if I was to be unkind, I would say that a lot of trolling will happen on social media with regard to Mamata Banerjee, who's made her displeasure pretty clear about the governor, the honorable governor. And now he will be sitting in Rajya Sabha, and I wonder what it will mean for people from her party, who in fact one person even called him a clown. So he will be sitting there while the chair will be Mr. Dhankar. So interesting what is going to happen. And I wonder who's going to go as governor to West Bengal. Yeah, that will be interesting to see, because again, it's a politically very sensitive position with regard to the equation between Mamata and the BJP.
No, Mamata Banerjee and Governor Dhankar have had frequent run-ins, public run-ins as well. But do you think this also puts Mamata Banerjee in a bit of a tough position, because can she be seen publicly opposing his candidature? I mean, we've seen in the past, for example, when Ramnath Kovind's name was announced, Nitish Kumar, despite not being in the NDA at that time, chose to break ranks and support Mr. Kovind. We've seen that with JMM also, because in Draupadi Murmu's case. Will Mamata, not be able to back Mr. Dhankar?
There's no way that she will. I mean, I'm presuming she's a different cup of tea as compared to Nitish Kumar. I mean, look, Mamta, to give her credit, she has backed Pranab Mukherjee in the past. And yeah, there are occasions, but it's been so acrimonious relationship with Jagdish Dhankar. So I doubt she lend her support to his candidature. She's certainly going to oppose that. And I don't think many in the opposition parties will have that kind of a, tilt towards Mr. Dhankar like they had towards Draupadi Murmu. He's quite obviously a very strong political figure, even though Draupadi Murmu is also from the BJP, but still he's kind of, is more right, I would say. So I doubt whether Mamata Banerjee will support his candidature. But yes, it is going to be very interesting a few years now.
Let me ask Maria also, the fact that in Ms. Murmu's case, you have a series of opposition parties from Shiv Sena, TDP, of course, JMM, all breaking ranks with the opposition and deciding to support her. And you can say, it's a historic election, the first tribal woman to become president of India, so that's understandable. But in Mr. Dhankar's case, do you see a lot of opposition parties breaking ranks and supporting his candidature?
I'll just add a bit to what Smita said, Zaka, and it's interesting what Mamata Banerjee had to say when the candidacy of Draupadi Murmu was announced, that had she known about it, perhaps she would have reacted differently. That part unhone pehle nahi bataya was her words famously, because she understands that it's a bit very, very difficult for her. Yashwant Sinha is a former BJP leader. Let's be very clear. For all those who have been talking about, the evil philosophy behind the idea behind Draupadi Murmu, how can they not associate the same with Yashwant Sinha? And Mamata Banerjee herself projects herself as a woman leader. How do you oppose the first tribal woman to be the president? I think she, in this particular case, she understands that because the opposition has not announced a vice presidential candidate, and again, the numbers in both the houses are clearly in favor of the BJP or the NDA's nominee, will Mamata Banerjee be again opposing just for the sake of opposition? And will she be really standing with the Congress party? Because if she has made her displeasure known very clearly on the issue of Yashwant Sinha, and only had the BJP announced the candidature of Draupadi Murmu earlier, she could have done a rethink. Then does she have that option right now? Yes, she does. And Azaka, we are only told now by the TMC sources is that there is an official press release that has come that there will be a discussion. So because there has been a reach out that has happened by the BJP towards Mamata Banerjee in the last 24 hours with regards to Jagdeep Dhankar's candidature. So will there be a surprise? Will Mamata Banerjee not stand with the Congress just for opposing it, because she understands fully well that the numbers are not with the Congress or any opposition candidate?
No, so Smita, this again puts, like I said, the opposition in a bit of a bind, because they can't be seen as publicly backing Mr. Dhankar, because Mr. Dhankar has taken very, very acrimonious positions, if I may, especially vis-a-vis Mamata Banerjee. But also at the same time, it's not a historic candidature like that of Draupadi Murmu. So who do you think the opposition could likely field if they were to field a candidate to take on Mr. Dhankar?
It's difficult, right? Because the numbers are not with them. But I think there will be a lot of consultation now, because they have to come up with a candidate who seems plausible to win, because Yashwant Sinha really stands no chance opposite Draupadi Murmu. So, who they will pick is anybody's guess, but I think Sharad Pawar and Sonia Gandhi will have some consultations. On the one hand, I would think that Mamata should be glad that, she will see the back of Mr. Dhankar from the stage. She'll have a little more freedom when he's gone. And the daily squabbles, battles that she's been having with the governor house will end. So she should be happy that he leaves. But it goes, one wonders who will replace him. That's why I said it's very important to see who will replace Mr. Dhankar in West Bengal. But more importantly, I think this is a signal that the BJP or the NDA now has political governors. They're not going to be like the erstwhile image of what a governor used to be, where it was ceremonial and pomp and pageantry and this is going to be more than that. This is going to be not just being political at the time of something happening like a trust vote or something major. It's going to be something which is going to be a politically active governor all through and through. Because that's what Mr. Dhankar has been, literally every week, going to the universities, going to panchayat level, getting involved with everything, putting in something like what a lieutenant governor in Delhi is.
I want to go back to Maria. So, will there also be an overhaul of some of the governors? I think about 3 or 4 of them today met with the Prime Minister. Of course, they've all come here for the presidential banquet that's going to happen, I think, tomorrow. Or tonight, I'm not sure. But will there be an overhaul now of some of the Raj Bhavans as well?
Yes, Zaka, because a number of governors are holding offices, are in charge of 2 states. So there will be overhaul that will happen. But I think, Zaka, it's interesting that even the functioning of Rajya Sabha, will it reflect how Governor Dhankar used to run the Raj Bhavan in Bengal? So, will that change completely? Because so far the Vice President in Venkaiah Naidu, he made that effort to really send the message to opposition that treasury benches and opposition can have some meeting ground. So he was seen as someone who was acceptable across party lines. Jagdeep Dhankar, when he functioned as the governor of the state of West Bengal, he was outright centre's man. He was seen as someone who was towing the BJP's line. So will that really mean that he will reflect the same when he takes the chair of the Rajya Sabha? So because the dynamics, Zaka, in the next few months of the Rajya Sabha is going to change. The role that the TMC will be playing based on its numerical strength, it can make the BJP's position difficult in the passage of legislation. The BJP has its numbers, let's be clear, it's above 100 for the first time that the BJP has reached, but the messaging, the larger messaging, will the Rajya Sabha function in the similar way, which is a very personality-driven Raj Bhavan that we saw when Mr. Dhankar was there in Bengal? Will that be reflecting also in the Rajya Sabha? That will be interesting to watch. But I think this is not high on symbolism. It is not about a first here. Yeah. This is more to do with political calculations. It's about sending a message to Mamata Banerjee that will she be standing with a governor from her state, a choice that made JMM pick Draupadi Murmu. Of course, the tribal aspect is there, but also Nitish Kumar, as you were highlighting rightly.
Okay, Arun is also there with us. Arun, talking about the political calculations, of course, Mr. Dhankar hails from Rajasthan. He's been a member of parliament before, he's been an MLA before, he comes from the influential Jat community, and as JP Nadda described him, the very first words that he used was Kisan Putra. How important is it in the context of the Rajasthan election that is slated to happen late next year, and also more importantly, to try and bridge this perceived gap between the Modi government and the farmer community?
Well, Zaka, that's a very, very important point. Even though government has taken back the farm laws, but still there is lost, faith in the government of the farmers, and that's something which really going to help the BJP and the government. And because remember the farm protests which were taking place, majority of them were dominated by the Jat farmers. So, Jagdeep Dhankar, coming from Rajasthan, Jhunjhunu, has a farmer background and a Jat farmer. So that is something which of course is going to work in favor of BJP. They want to once again get back the faith of the farmers, and of course the administrative experience that he brings to the table. That is something which is also very important. But Rajasthan is going to polls next year. Perhaps this decision of BJP will work for them as well. So, but importantly, how he's going to manage things in Rajya Sabha. That is something which is going to be very, very important. Of course, the messaging has gone from the BJP side that they have given the second highest constitutional post to a farmer son, and secondly, how he's going to build that rapport with all the MPs there, because functioning of the parliament of especially Rajya Sabha is very, very important. So therefore, government want that consensus, and because he's ex-officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha, so he'll have to play a very, very crucial role.
All right, we're getting live shots of the PM now leaving the BJP party headquarters. He was, of course, part of that parliamentary board meeting. You can see JP Nadda, Amit Shah, Rajnath Singh saying their goodbyes to the Prime Minister. Of course, the meeting has just concluded. Now Amit Shah and JP Nadda having a quiet word as Rajnath Singh overlooks from the sidelines the Prime Minister's convoy just leaving the BJP party headquarters. Mr. R. Rajagopalan is also joining us. Mr. Rajagopalan, so Jagdeep Dhankar, the governor of Bengal, is the NDA's choice to be the next vice president. Your first thoughts on this pick? Many are saying it's a surprising choice.
It is a surprising. And second thing, my understanding is that Rajasthan is going to polls. Rajya Sabha, the members of parliament are very unruly. Even Venkaiah Naidu could not handle it. Now, Mr. Dhankar, having the experience, having served as a governor of West Bengal, he has the choice of, controlling. I cannot say control, but he can conduct the house of the Rajya Sabha, because the government, though it has got 100 members, but the opposition members
Mr. Rajagopalan, I'm really sorry to interrupt, but we have senior TMC leader Madan Mitra on the phone line. Mr. Mitra, your first reaction: Jagdeep Dhankar has been nominated by the NDA to be the vice presidential candidate.
Let me make it very crystal clear to you.
Yeah.
It is a very sensitive matter, and the decision of our party will be taken by Ms. Mamata Banerjee only. So in this matter, so far we are concerned, we don't like to make any comment, but it will positively be decided by Mamata Banerjee, and our decision will be taken by her.
Mr. Mitra, do you see Mr. Dhankar as representing Bengal in that sense? After all, he's been governor there for the last 3.5 years or so.
I don't like to make any comments, but only I could say that Mr. Dhankar did not play any active role so far the Bengal is concerned, and she did do nothing good with which the Bengalis are happy.
So you are saying that whatever track record there is between your government and the governor, of course it's public knowledge, that all was not well, right?
And whatever it is, the decision will be taken by Mamata Banerjee. Absolutely a matter of the parliamentary party. So I can only say we are keeping a close vigil on the situation.
You are not saying that you are averse to supporting him?
I don't like to make any comment. Whatever has to be said. Okay, thank you.
All right, Madan Mitra, thank you very much. SP Singh Baghel, Minister in the central government, is also joining us. Thank you very much, Mr. Baghel. Your first reaction: Kisan Putra Jagdeep Dhankar is how your party president described Mr. Dhankar. The choice is a bit surprising. No one quite expected the NDA to nominate Mr. Dhankar as the vice president. What are the reasons behind it?
बीजेपी ने और एनडीए ने जो उपराष्ट्रपति पद के लिए श्री जगदीप धनखड़ जी का चयन किया है, हम उसका स्वागत और अभिनंदन करते हैं। और मेरी पहली रिएक्शन है कि अभी शौकत राय जी को मैं सुन रहा था, वो कह रहे थे कि मैं कोई खूबी चीजें मैं कहना चाहूंगा कि जगदीप धनखड़ का व्यक्तित्व खूबियों से भरा हुआ है। वो एक सामान्य किसान जाट परिवार में पैदा हुए हैं, उसके बाद वो एमएलए रहे, एमपी रहे, भारत सरकार में मंत्री रहे, शिक्षाविद हैं, कानूनविद हैं, माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट में उन्होंने वकालत की है। और उसके अलावा जिन पदों पर हैं उन्होंने अमित छाप छोड़ी है। और पश्चिम बंगाल के राज्यपाल, महामहिम राज्यपाल के रूप में उन्होंने अपने संवैधानिक दायित्वों का जो उपयोग किया है, उससे कुछ जिन लोगों का डेमोक्रेसी में और संविधान में विश्वास नहीं है, उनको तो होता है। महामहिम जब केसीनाथ त्रिपाठी पश्चिम बंगाल के राज्यपाल थे, जो उत्तर प्रदेश के स्पीकर भी थे और इलाहाबाद उच्च न्यायालय के प्रथम 4-5 वकीलों में उनकी गिनती की, उनसे भी ममता बनर्जी को दिक्कत थी।
बघेल जी, लेकिन ये बताइए, द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी के केस में ऐतिहासिक था, हिस्टोरिक था कि फर्स्ट ट्राइबल महिला को आप राष्ट्रपति बना रहे हैं। इनके केस में तो कोई ऐसा ऐतिहासिक चीज नहीं है।
ये आवाज कट रही है, लेकिन अभी कोई कह रहे थे कि उनके केस में उनको अल्पसंख्यक बनाना चाहिए। ये तय करेगा ना किसको बनाना है, विपक्ष थोड़ा तय करेगा कि किसको, वो अपना प्रत्याशी तय कर लेंगे उनको लड़ाना हो। लेकिन जगदीप धनखड़ जी, मैंने बताया ना कि किसान परिवार से और शेखावती जाते हैं, जिलों की भूम है, त्याग तपस्या और बलिदान की भूम है, जहाँ लोग अन्याय अत्याचार और शोषण के खिलाफ मुगलियों से दिनों से भी लड़ते रहे हैं। वहीं के माफी के पुत्र को जो है राष्ट्रपति पद एनडीए ने घोषित किया है। निश्चित तौर से वो एक पढ़े लिखे कानूनी शिक्षा नीति में राज्यसभा का संचालन में अपनी योग्यता और अपने अनुभव को लाभ सभा को मिलेगा।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद बघेल साहब हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए और आपके रिएक्शन के लिए। लेट मी गो बैक टू मिस्टर राजगोपालन। यस, यू वर सेइंग दैट this is a pretty unexpected choice, but how do you see this playing itself out, Mr. Rajgopalan? Because it is a bit of a googly for Mamata Banerjee. Can she be seen as opposed to him, and yet at the same time can she be seen as supporting him because of the public spats that they've had in the last 3 years?
And moreover, if you noticed, the Narendra Modi's mindset is having chosen only the governors. Ramnath Govind was governor. Yes. Even Madam Murmuru was governor. He is also governor. Therefore, Mr. Narendra Modi wants the constitution position to be replaced by another constitution person who held the office. That is one. Second thing is a message for Rajasthan, which is going for polls next year. Second, most important, the Trinamool Congress MPs have been more, vocal. They have been very outright. And second thing, they have done some sort of, during Venkaiah Naidu's time, they stood up and they did a march, and, they created some sort of mayhem in the house, hooliganism in the house. And moreover, they danced on the table. Now, Mr. Dhankar, having dealt Bengal politics, having known Bengal politics, it is a sort of a check on Mamata Banerjee. That is what I could manage, narrate. The reason being, for Uddhav Thackeray, there is Eknath Shinde. For Mamata Banerjee, there is Jagdeep Dhankar at the highest place, because Rajya Sabha is going to be very crucial for next 2-3 years for Narendra Modi's government. Suppose if next year they brought UCC bill, Uniform Civil Code bill, Rajya Sabha will not deliberate it. But Jagdeep Dhankar can give a room for the government to debate it, deliberate it, whether they pass it or not. There will be an open, a window will be open for Mr. Jagdeep Dhankar. So therefore, it's a political decision that Narendra Modi has taken to nominate Mr. Jagdeep Dhankar. Another very interesting question, which I would like to ask you, the reason who will replace Mr. Jagdeep Dhankar in West Bengal? He must be an equal person, Yeah. Otherwise, there won't be a bonny home between Mamata Banerjee and the governor.
Okay, so Mr. Rajgopalan, I'm completely out of time. Thank you very much for joining us on this Saturday evening with your thoughts and perspective. Like I said, quite a surprising choice in Jagdeep Dhankar. Now, it'll be interesting to see how the TMC reacts to it and how the rest of the opposition reacts to it. And more importantly, who the opposition's candidate will be. Will they put one? Because the numbers are clearly not on their side. And if they do, who that candidate might be. That's a wrap. But join us in a moment on the other side for News Blitz.
Sort of thing that I should expect.
Fantastic. You got it.
No, it's
you
not.
Got it.
They're lying.
She got
this
it.
Is what it is. This is what it is. Talking to Ranbir is just being lied to all the time.
The director saying you got it. I didn't say anything also.
No, it's not. No.
Now suspense is only gone.
No, it's not gone.
It's gone
He
now.
can't release his interview. She's yeah, the story.
Yeah.
Now in Sri Lanka, folks, the PM and President have run away from the fight. It sounds funny if you're not paying attention, but it's true. They actually just got up and ran away. They owe 50 billion in debt, the country that is, and they need to clear 28 billion by 2027. A minimum of 28 billion, otherwise they basically just sink completely. There'll be like nothing left. So let's talk to international financial advisor Dr. R.U. Kutty, who is being consulted by what's left of the Sri Lankan administration. And he's right here with us. He's a very busy man. Mr. R.U. Kutty.
That's my name.
I see. Great opening, sir. Great opening. I love that. Let's start at the top now. Is there any hope for Sri Lanka?
Is there a hope for Uddhav in Maharashtra or Congress at the center?
I don't know.
Then that's your answer.
Okay, but now let's go from the top to the bottom.
But young man, I did that by appearing on your show.
Right, so comedy we've got. We're getting no answers, but we've got comedy. True. Now, are you Kutti?
That's me. That's my name.
No. Just let me complete. Are you Kutti?
That's my name. That's me.
This guy just... Can you just behave yourself, sir? Please, sir. How did it get so bad for Sri Lanka? Give us an understanding of why it went wrong.
See, I'll tell you. You owe 10 rupees.
Yes.
Then you borrow 10 rupees to pay off the first 10 rupees.
I owe 10 rupees, so I borrow 10 rupees.
But now, you owe the initial guy 12 rupees because of the compound interest. So you pay off 10, still owe 2 to him. Plus, another 10 to second guy. Meanwhile, both sums compound further and become...
This is getting very scary.
So now, you owe 5 to the first guy and 13 to the second guy. So you borrow 10 from the third guy.
Okay. Please stop. This show is painful enough as it is. Don't do this calculation. Please stop.
So they reach a point of 50 billion plus in debt and growing.
Is that so?
And can you believe it all started from borrowing just 10 rupees?
I don't think that's true. In fact, I feel really bad.
Good evening, welcome to News Blitz. Heavy rainfall wreaked havoc in several parts of Kerala. The Alua Mahadeva temple, which is situated on the banks of the Periyar River in Kochi, submerged underwater. The water level has increased significantly in the Periyar River following incessant rains. The rural areas of Kozhikode, Malappuram and Kannur districts witnessed massive waterlogging and landslides. The Shrikhand Mahadev Yatra has been affected because of extremely heavy rainfall. The rains triggered landslides in parts of Kulu as well as nearby areas. The Shrikhand Mahadev Yatra is one of the toughest religious pilgrimages in the world. Many glaciers have to be crossed to see Bholenath at an altitude of over 18,000 feet. Several animals and birds were rescued after a flood-like situation arose in Navsari district in Gujarat. Rescue teams also provided food to the animals that were stranded in the flood-affected areas. Several NDRF teams have also been deployed across Gujarat for rescue operations. Delhi sighed a breath of relief today as parts of the city received rainfall. The Met Department has predicted strong winds of up to 30 to 40 kilometers per hour. Cloudy skies and very light rainfall are also on the forecast for Delhi on Sunday as well. Very light or light rainfall could persist from the 19th of July to the 22nd. The monsoon mayhem in Maharashtra continues. It's claimed over 100 lives since the 1st of June. The State Disaster Management Department has said that 2 deaths have been reported in the last 24 hours because of rain and flood-related incidents. Amid incessant heavy rainfall in Doda district in Jammu and Kashmir, the water level in the Chenab has increased pretty dramatically. The government has issued a red alert in the low-lying areas of the Union Territory. Once again, because of heavy rains, the Amarnath Yatra has been stopped from both sides. The main route will now be examined, and if found not slippery, only then will the pilgrims be allowed to continue with their yatra. As part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebration, the Jammu and Kashmir government has formed a high-level committee to implement the recent decisions taken on the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. While the move was welcomed by the BJP, the PDP has called it a childish move.
महबूबा मुफ्ती बार बार भारतीय झंडे को लेकर के जो आज़ादी का अमृत महोत्सव मनाया जा रहा है उस पर सवाल खड़े करते हैं। तिरंगे की बेइज्जती करना इनका शुरू से काम रहा है। 70 साल इन्होंने उस झंडे को प्रायोरिटी दी जिसके कारण से अलगाववाद, आतंकवाद और परिवारवाद ये सब चीज़ें चलती रही।
This is yet another distraction move of the government. The government never wants to address the main issues: unemployment, poverty, other hostile issues facing the country, the common man. they keep on distracting, they keep on generating controversy out of nothing, out of no issues.
A Pakistani woman was nabbed on the Chakandabag line of control in Poonch by security forces. The infiltrator was nabbed in the forward sector where attempts to trespass the border took place a few days ago. The woman, in fact, was handed over to the JNK police. The Srinagar police have stopped 5 youths from joining terror ranks in Jammu and Kashmir. In fact, all 5 were planning to go to Pakistan for weapons training in Lashkar-e-Taiba run camps. Sections 13, 18 and 18B of the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act has been invoked against them, as well as the recruiters, about the whole conspiracy. In order to revive the dying Kashmiri art form of paper march, Shafia Bashir, an artist from Srinagar's Lal Bazaar, has started making paper march designs on things like Kashmiri Kangri. Shafia says that she's got very good response from all over the world for the revival of this cultural act, and people now are appreciative and supportive of her initiative. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today inaugurated the 296-kilometre-long Bundelkhand Expressway. The expressway was built at a cost of 14,850 crores. This 4-lane expressway will pass through 7 UP districts. The foundation stone for this expressway was laid by the Prime Minister in 2020, and the project has been completed in a record span of just 28 months.
आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के कर कमलों से 296 किलोमीटर लंबे इस एक्सप्रेसवे का उद्घाटन होने जा रहा है। यह बुंदेलखंड की अर्थव्यवस्था को और उत्तर प्रदेश की अर्थव्यवस्था को एक नया आयाम प्रदान करेगा।
ये एक्सप्रेसवे बुंदेलखंड की गौरवशाली परंपरा को समर्पित है। योगी जी के नेतृत्व वाली सरकार में कानून व्यवस्था भी सुधरी है और कनेक्टिविटी भी तेज से सुधर रही है।
Samajwadi Party leader Akhilesh Yadav has taken a dig at the Uttar Pradesh government on the Bundelkhand Expressway project. He shared a video of the under-construction expressway on Twitter and asked, what is the hurry to inaugurate it even before completion? The Gujarat Special Investigation Team has made a massive claim that Teesta Setalvad received a Padma Shri for her attempts to conspire against the then Modi government. The SIT has been investigating Setalvad on charges of fabrication of evidence and conspiracy linked to the 2002 Gujarat riots. After the Gujarat SIT's shocking revelations about Teesta Setalvad, BJP spokesperson Sambit Patra took a jibe at the Congress and its leader Sonia Gandhi. He said that Teesta Setalvad was working to destroy the then Gujarat government and wanted to defame the entire state. He also said that Sonia Gandhi, through Ahmed Patel, tried to destroy the then Chief Minister Narendra Modi.
अहमद पटेल जी के माध्यम से सोनिया जी ने नरेंद्र मोदी जी को घेरने की चेष्टा की, उन्हें अपमानित और उन्हें किस प्रकार से निष्कासित किया जाए इसकी चेष्टा की, और ये पूरे षड्यंत्र की रचयिता सोनिया गांधी है। 30 लाख का पहला किस्त सोनिया गांधी जी ने तीस्ता सेतलवाड को दिया। अहमद पटेल जी हमारे बीच में नहीं है, अहमद पटेल जी ने तो केवल डिलीवर किया।
After Sambit Patra slammed the Congress, Congress leader Pawan Kheda countered the BJP, stoking a controversy because elections are approaching in Gujarat. He also alleged that the SIT chief, who had given the clean sheet to then Chief Minister Modi, was made an ambassador subsequently after years of retirement.
जब भी गुजरात का चुनाव आता है, भारतीय जनता पार्टी, नरेंद्र मोदी जी और उनका जो इकोसिस्टम है, वो नए नए थ्योरी सामने लाता है। हर बार गुजरात चुनाव जब आता है तो कभी अंसारी जी का नाम लेकर शुरू हो जाएंगे, कभी स्वर्गीय अहमद पटेल जी का नाम लेकर शुरू हो जाएंगे। हर बार चुनाव आता है तो आप कभी किसी मुस्लिम नेता का नाम जरूर लाएंगे। कांग्रेस पार्टी इस तरह की राजनीति में विश्वास नहीं रखती।
A day after the Lulu Mall controversy in Lucknow, another video of a man offering namaz has emerged where he can be seen offering the namaz on a platform number 3 in the Charbagh station in Lucknow. The video has been doing the rounds of social media since then. Members of the All India Hindu Mahasabha have protested and registered a complaint regarding the same.
स्टेशन पे जिस प्रकार से वहाँ परसों वहाँ पर नमाज पढ़ी गई जिसका वीडियो वायरल हुआ है, तो उसको लेकर हमारा ये कहना है कि उनको पकड़ा जाए, चिन्हित किया जाए। उसके अलावा वहाँ पर जो मज़ार बनी है, मज़ार की आड़ में बांग्लादेशी घुसपैठियों का पनाहगाह बन गई है वो मज़ार, और रेलवे का आर्थिक नुकसान भी हो रहा है। ये जल्द से जल्द इस पर कार्रवाई करें।
Another fresh controversy has erupted in West Bengal, where posters calling Chief Minister Mamta Banerjee anti-tribal have been put up by the BJP. The poster also shows NDA's presidential candidate Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Modi. TMC leader Sukhendu Shekhar Roy, in an address, called out the BJP for misleading people by spreading falsehood.
बीजेपी कुछ नहीं कर पा रहा, भ्रम तैयार करना चाहते हैं आदिवासियों की मन में कि तृणमूल कांग्रेस के साथ मत जाओ, लेकिन वो लोग आदिवासी लोग जानते हैं कि ममता बनर्जी का जो कर्म सूची प्रगति का, जिसके कारण उनको अब पिछले दिनों से ज़्यादा प्रगति हुआ है, वो ममता बनर्जी का नेतृत्व में ही काम करेगा और काम कर रहा है।
After the key BJP meeting, Jagdeep Dhankar has been nominated by the NDA for the post of Vice President. The nomination will be filed on the 19th of July and the election for Vice President is scheduled to take place on the 6th of August.
सभी नामों पर गौर करने के बाद हम सब लोग और भारतीय जनता पार्टी की संसदीय बोर्ड इस निष्कर्ष पर पहुंची है कि उपराष्ट्रपति पद के लिए भारतीय जनता पार्टी और एनडीए के प्रत्याशी के रूप में हमारे किसान पुत्र श्री जगदीप धनखड़ जी को हम उपराष्ट्रपति पद के लिए अपना प्रत्याशी के रूप में घोषित करते हैं।
4 people have been arrested in connection with the Patna terror module, while 3 were arrested Thursday. The cops have arrested another one last evening and they've found Pakistani links in this case. The police have also found that the accused was operating through WhatsApp groups. He was also a member of Ghazwa-e-Hind.
कल एक और महत्वपूर्ण गिरफ्तारी हुई है। जो गिरफ्तार अभियुक्त है उसका नाम है मरगूब अहमद दानिश। एक ऐसा नंबर पता चला था जिसमें बहुत ही आपत्तिजनक पोस्ट, राष्ट्र विरोधी वीडियोस, नारे इत्यादि उनका प्रचार और प्रसार किया जा रहा था। ये व्यक्ति गज़वा हिंद नाम का संस्था के साथ जुड़ा हुआ था।
Ahead of the monsoon session of Parliament, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla chaired a meeting with leaders of all political parties. Birla briefed them on the preparations related to the session, which is all set to begin on the 18th of July. And ahead of the Parliament monsoon session, an advisory has been sent to members from refraining from distribution of any pamphlets, leaflets or placards inside the House. This advisory comes at a time when opposition parties created a huge furor over the advisory on demonstrations and dharnas inside Parliament complex. TMC MP Jawahar Sarkar has written to Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri regarding the makeover of the Ashok Stamb. Sarkar has urged the minister to undertake computerized checks to rectify distortions in the national emblem that is now perched on top of the new Parliament building. He also goes on to say that the national emblem is not an area where human error or artistic licenses can be permitted. In the Udaipur murder case, the NIA court has sent 3 accused to judicial custody. The sentence has been announced for Ghosh Mohammed, Riyaz Atari and Farhad Mohammed. After the remand period ends, they were in fact presented today in court. Remember, Kanhaiya Lal was killed on the 28th of June for supporting former BJP spokesperson Nupur Shah. The 16th round of the India-China military talks will be held on Sunday on the Indian side of the LAC in eastern Ladakh. India has been pressing for progress in overall bilateral ties and for quick disengagement of troops from all the remaining friction points in eastern Ladakh. After Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Rewadi culture jibe, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal hit out. Kejriwal said that giving free education and free health treatment to people is not distributing freebies. It is an act of virtue and it's called laying the foundation for the future generations of this country.
मुझ पर आरोप लगाए जा रहे हैं कि केजरीवाल फ्री की रेवड़ियां बांट रहा है, केजरीवाल फ्रीबीज दे रहा है। मैं लोगों से पूछना चाहता हूं कि क्या मैं फ्री की रेवड़ियां बांट रहा हूं या देश की नींव रख रहा हूं? अगर मैं इन बच्चों को अच्छी शानदार शिक्षा दे रहा हूं लेकिन फ्री में दे रहा हूं तो मैं क्या गुनाह कर रहा हूं?
An Uttar Pradesh court has rejected the bail petition of Alt News co-founder Mohammad Zubair in connection with an FIR that was lodged against him for saying something in 2021 which allegedly promoted enmity among communities. Earlier on Friday, Delhi's Patiala House Court granted him bail in a case related to an allegedly objectionable tweet. India reported a little over 20,000 new COVID cases and 56 deaths in the last 24 hours. Active cases now comprise 0.32% of total infections, while the national COVID-19 recovery rate was 98.48%. The daily positivity rate was recorded at 8.4%. Former Tamil Nadu Chief Minister O. Selvam, who's tested positive for COVID yesterday, has now been admitted to a private hospital in Chennai for further treatment. A central team has visited Kerala after a case of monkeypox was detected in the state. The central team met with health department officials regarding the case. The team will also visit Kollam district from where the patient is currently admitted.
People watch your show?
No, yeah, 2-3 people who don't know that they all know your trivia. Na? We all know trivia about you.
Point.
We all know too much.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's your question though?
That you signed this on before KGF, before Bahubali, no, before RRR, after Bahubali. So were you prescient? Did you know that this is the kind of film Indian audiences are going to like?
Unfortunately, I didn't write the film, so so actually he was someone who was, I guess, above.
Ekta and me.
Ekta and him were ahead of the curve. But at the time that it came to me, it seemed very exciting. I felt very lucky to be offered a film like this. And here we are sitting about the film, very excited. 22nd July the film releases, and the 2-3 people who don't know that it's a action entertainer, it's a badass entertaining film, and I hope everyone enjoys it.
Don't try to wrap up just yet.
क्यों हो गया? पीछे से बोले ना?
No one is saying. Lio is just.
He's playing with your psyche all along.
Does he do this on sets as well? Do you guys feel very demotivated when you go home?
See, I've realized
What is happening?
I wake up motivated.
Okay. And then you meet Ranbir.
Yeah. I'm fine.
See, you're
been demotivating me since morning.
Every time you do interviews, you always ask the masti-core questions. So when I'm allowed to do masti, why only you're allowed?
That's fine. That's fine. But don't pretend on sets. You're like very disciplined, very sweet, introvert.
Have you been on my set?
You're very disciplined on your set.
I don't know. Ask them. Am I?
Yeah.
He's very disciplined. No, genuinely he is. Genuinely. It's a shocking transition that happens.
Okay, fine. It's a question I asked. Good to know.
She doesn't want to receive the answer, but she's living with it.
Okay. And as a co-star, he's okay.
Yeah, just about okay.
Just about okay.
He manages.
Yeah. We manage. We jail him.
We sail through.
I know you did Kathak for this film. You prepared for this film.
I did.
What about you? You prepared?
I prepared falling down in a chair. For 6 months, I was just falling down chairs.
It's a larger than life role, and you're so real.
No, let's. I mean, on a serious note, this film came with a lot of challenges because it's a part which I've never done in my life. In the 15-year career that I've had, I'm playing 2 characters, Shamshera and of Balli. It was a character which was filled with angst. It's something which angst doesn't naturally come from me, and Karan's one requirement for this part was at the very onset of this film, he said that I need you to be angry. Do you get angry? And when I told him no, I don't get angry, his face had broken. He's like, you don't get angry, so how are you going to do this part? So I had to take a lot of help from Karan. He had to channelize him a lot because he is someone who has a lot of angst. And I think that really helped in portraying both these parts.
I don't feel you would be angry, but I feel like you're a little angsty. You can be angsty, no? A little about life, the bigger question of life.
I don't know, nobody's complained yet.
Okay.
Except you.
It's a good thing your characters have so much angst. Like in Ye Jawani Hai Diwani, you're so angsty.
Yeah, but those are all soul searching, and the villain was me only.
Welcome back. The Indian High Commissioner called on the Sri Lankan speaker today. According to a tweet, India appreciated the Parliament's role in upholding democracy and constitutional framework, particularly at this crucial juncture. India has also conveyed that it will be continuing to be supportive of democracy, stability and economic recovery in Sri Lanka. The President of Sri Lanka is scheduled to be elected by Parliament on the 20th of July to complete the remainder of former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's term after he resigned on the 14th of July. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is the acting president, Sri Lankan MP Peruma and opposition leader Sajith Premadasa are in the fray to run for the president's post.
Our party is SJB and we have an alliance, SJB alliance. This is the main opposition party. Parliamentary representation is lopsided. It does not reflect the aspirations of the people of the country. Because today, the Rajapaksa ideology is a failed ideology. The majority that was attained in 2020 will be deciding on the future presidency.
More trouble mounts for Gotabaya as Singapore is not keen on keeping him for long. Sources have told CNN News 18 that Singapore is unlikely to extend Gotabaya Rajapaksa's permission to stay beyond 15 days.
People were suffering for food, water, gas, electricity and everything. They couldn't alleviate any of those things.
We are actually informing people, educating people on why why parliamentarians shouldn't support Ranil Wickremesinghe.
Driving for from the get-go, but then that being said, it isn't the ultimate goal per se, so I think it's a little too early to do a victory lap celebration and all the rest of it.
China's workers face the economic pains from zero COVID as the country is also reporting its worst quarterly performance in 2 years.
China's zero COVID policy has inflicted devastating economic pain across the country. The policy has brought the cities to a grinding halt. There are people who haven't been able to access their own savings since April.
Was that your life savings?
Yeah, for sure. I worked almost 10 years and that's all I have with my family. I'm losing my weight, I'm losing my, my mind.
Just in June, massive protests broke out at the government building for 5 straight days, for more than 12 hours a day, only to be quashed by the cops violently. Local authorities later promised to start giving small payments to some such depositors. But still, there is no clear policy with people left in lurch.
New York's chief medical examiner has said that Donald Trump's first wife, Ivana Trump, died of blunt impact injuries to her torso. According to US media reports, the police are investigating if she died after falling down the stairs, as the circumstances of her death have not been specified. Russia has once again stepped up its onslaught against Ukraine, with civilian casualties reported in several areas of the country. At least 3 civilians were killed and 3 more injured in Russian rocket strike in the northern city of Chouhan, which lies about 120 kilometers from the Russia border. North Korea today slammed Ukraine for severing diplomatic ties between the two nations after Pyongyang said that it was formally recognizing 2 self-proclaimed pro-Russia republics in the east of the country. This came after Ukraine had cut off its official relationship with the nuclear-armed state in response to Pyongyang recognizing the so-called Donetsk People's Republic and the Luhansk People's Republic. As the race to become Britain's next Prime Minister gains pace, caretaker Prime Minister Boris Johnson has reportedly told his allies to back anyone but Rishi Sunak. Now, this is according to a media report. Johnson, who resigned as the leader of the ruling Conservative Party on the 7th of July, has been urging defeated Tory leadership candidates not to back former Chancellor Sunak. The US House of Representatives adopted 2 bills aimed at protecting access to abortion after the Supreme Court ruled that individual states can either ban or restrict abortion. The legislation passed by the Democratic-controlled House is unlikely to advance in the Senate, where 10 Republican votes would be needed to bring the measures to the floor. US President Joe Biden has met with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, on the attacks on dissidents during his visit to Saudi Arabia. In fact, Prince MBS drew global outrage for the 2018 killing of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi in the kingdom's Istanbul consulate. This was through an operation that the US intelligence services said he approved. Saudi citizens will soon be able to obtain 10-year visitor visas in an agreement during US President Joe Biden's visit to Saudi Arabia. Under the agreement, the validity of visitor visas for Saudi citizens extends from 5 years to 10 years as of 1st of August. Biden is on a 2-day visit to Saudi Arabia that began Friday with a meeting with King Salman. At least 6 people are dead in the US state of Montana after a windstorm caused 20 vehicles to crash together on the highway. The storm's heavy winds and zero visibility are believed to have contributed to the crash. The Montana Highway Patrol is investigating the incident and is expected to release more information. The BCCI has moved the Supreme Court seeking to amend its constitution with regard to the tenure of its office bearers, including President Sourav Ganguly and Secretary Jay Shah. The BCCI, during an AGM in December of 2019, had proposed 6 amendments which had barred the BCCI and state board office bearers from holding office for more than 6 consecutive years. The second ODI between India and England was a star-studded affair with the likes of Sachin Tendulkar, Sourav Ganguly, MS Dhoni and Suresh Raina in attendance. A day after the game, Master Blaster Tendulkar shared a photograph with West Indies legend Sir Garfield Sobers on Twitter. Manchester United has signed Christian Eriksen as a free agent on a 3-year deal. The 30-year-old switch to the Red Devils completes an incredible return after his brush with death last year. Eriksen suffered a cardiac arrest on the pitch in Copenhagen while playing for Denmark at the European Championship. He was forced to leave Inter Milan after recovering due to a Serie A health breakthrough. Biologists have tracked the last dolphin pod in Rio de Janeiro's Bay. Researchers say that the last pod of dolphins in the Guanabara Bay show some signs of recovery, where once thousands roamed through the rich fishing grounds offshore Rio, but falling victim to pollution and overfishing. The Academy Museum is all set to honor Julia Roberts at the 2nd annual gala in October. The Oscar winner will be presented with the Icon Award in recognition of the significant global cultural impact of her career. Roberts won an Oscar in 2000 for her leading role in Erin Brockovich. Actor Julianne Moore has been selected to serve as president of the main competition jury for the Venice International Film Festival. The Oscar-winning actor will preside over a jury that includes French director Audrey Diwan, author Kazuo Ishiguro, and Iranian actor Leila Hatami. A video of a little girl touching the feet of a soldier has gone viral on social media. The video shows the little girl running towards a group of soldiers. One of the soldiers then bends to interact with her when she sits down to touch his feet to take blessings. The soldier, moved by the girl's gesture, shows her affection. People on social media are sharing the video with the caption, "Raising patriotic young minds is a duty every parent owes to this great nation." That's a wrap. Thanks for your time.
One day said to me and Ishan, he said all of the best acting is acting that happens by mistake. वो जो गलती से हो जाता है ना, वहाँ ही जादू होता है.
When you sit down with your father, Mr. Boni Kapoor, what are the conversations that you have now? Now that you're into the film industry, you're reading scripts, and your father has been the producer. Recently, Salman made a statement that, you know, मेरे career में जब बहुत बुरा वक्त था तो बोनी कपूर ने मुझे उठाया था. So, as a professional now, what are the conversations that you're having with a professional like him?
I think that a lot of creative discussions. We love watching movies, discussing movies. I love telling him about how my day's been on set. And he has इतना wisdom है उनके पास, उसने इतना कुछ देखा है अपनी ज़िंदगी में, इतना कुछ किया है कि वो ज्ञान बांटने के लिए हमेशा तैयार रहते हैं. और उनकी कहानी आपको एक बार सुननी चाहिए, बिकॉज ही सीन इट ऑल एंड ही इज़ डन इट ऑल. तो कई बार मैं बस बैठ के सुनती हूँ और उनको बात करने का बहुत शौक है, स्पेशली जब वो अपने दोस्तों के साथ बैठते हैं, रूमी सर, जावेद साहब, शबाना मैम, और उनके जो किस्से हैं वो मतलब आप सुन के चौंक जाओगे कि ऐसे भी फिल्म्स बनते थे, ये फिल्म ऐसी बनी थी, ये इसके वक्त ये हो रहा था. सो देयर इज सो मच टू लर्न. ही इज बीन अ प्रोड्यूसर. मैंने देखा है कि जब एक्टर्स प्रोड्यूसर्स की ज़िंदगी थोड़ा मुश्किल करते हैं, डिमांड्स करते हैं, ये वो करते हैं, कि प्रोड्यूसर पे क्या प्रेशर्स होती हैं. सो आई try in whatever way I can to make it as easy as possible.
Wonderful. When I read about you, newspapers and websites and social media, sometimes I think you are under too much pressure of just looking good. Do you ever feel that thing that just people are a little judgmental of looks, especially women?
I do feel like that. I don't just think वो हमारी industry की problem है या हमारी gender की problem है. I think social media के बदौलत वो हर इंसान की problem हो गई है कि वो जो
the filters and
no जो मतलब external चीज़ें जो हैं
yeah.
दिखावट जो है वो बहुत ज़रूरी हो गया लोगों के लिए और उस चीज़ से मुझे डर लगने लगा कि हाँ ऑफ कोर्स मुझे ड्रेसअप करने में मेकअप हेयर सब करने में इवेंट्स के लिए जाने में फ़ोटोज़ पोस्ट करने में बहुत मज़ा आता है लेकिन अगर वो एक इंसान की ज़िंदगी बन जाती है तो वो बहुत डरावना हो जाता है सो यू नीड टू know when to switch off. Even when I'm getting papped, wherever I'm getting papped, if I'm in a good mood and I'm feeling good, I think I'm pretty chirpy. But there are days where I'm just like, like I don't know, my stomach's hurting, but I had to go to the gym because I have to look good for an event or because I'm losing weight for a role and then I have to do training after, and like. Someone just told me that the film I wanted to do is now happening with someone, and like you're having a shitty day, and then there are paps saying, "Janvi ma'am, yahan turn karke wave kijiye, please." And you know that your tights are too tight, and this won't look flattering, and people will say that, "Oh, ye janbujh ke aise kapde pehen rahi," and all of these thoughts rush in your head in a matter of seconds, and then it shows on your face.
Yeah, that's true.
And then they say कि इतनी खड़ूस है, हाई भी नहीं बोल सकती है. So you can't care about these things.
Yeah, you've got into several roles like this.
Hello, welcome to the Super Saturday debate. A special investigation team that is probing the role of Teesta Setalvad in forming a conspiracy after the Gujarat 2002 riots has claimed that she deliberately did so to implicate the then Gujarat Chief Minister Narendra Modi. The SIT also startlingly claims that she was doing all of this at the behest of Ahmed Patel, the long-time political secretary of Sonia Gandhi. The Congress and Mr. Patel's family have dismissed these claims. The question, though, is, was Teesta being financially compensated for this work, and was she doing this to try and implicate the then Chief Minister of Gujarat as well as the ruling party? Was she doing this for political purposes?
उस समय जो राज्य की सरकार थी गुजरात में, किस प्रकार से उसे बर्खास्त किया जाए और उसे अस्थिर बनाया जाए, यह प्रथम राजनीतिक मनसा, यह प्रथम पॉलिटिकल ऑब्जेक्टिव तीस्ता सेतलवाड और उनके मित्रों का था, उनके साथियों का था. अहमद पटेल तो मात्र एक नाम है. ही इज जस्ट अ नेम. द ड्राइविंग फोर्स बिहाइंड अहमद पटेल वॉज हिज बॉस सोनिया गांधी.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी, नरेंद्र मोदी जी और उनका जो इकोसिस्टम है वो नए नए थ्योरी सामने लाता है. हर बार गुजरात चुनाव जब आता है तो कभी अंसारी जी का नाम लेकर शुरू हो जाएंगे, कभी स्वर्गीय अहमद पटेल जी का नाम लेकर शुरू हो जाएंगे. हर बार चुनाव आता है तो आप कभी किसी मुस्लिम नेता का नाम जरूर लाएंगे.
All right, so what exactly has the SIT said? Remember, they've said this in an affidavit before a court in Ahmedabad. Let me bring you up to speed with some of these damning findings that the SIT has said. Number one, it says that this was a conspiracy that was hatched at the behest of late Ahmed Patel, who was political secretary to Sonia Gandhi. The affidavit goes on to say that the plot involves Teesta Setalvad and former cops R.B. Srikumar, who was ADG of police at that time, and Sanjeev Bhatt, who was with the state intelligence at that time. Setalvad held multiple meetings with Ahmed Patel just days after the Godhra incident, which happened on 27 February 2002. Ahmed Patel, it is alleged in this affidavit, gave Setalvad money, first through a witness person, 5 lakh rupees, and then 25 lakh rupees in 2 different installments for supposedly relief work, but then that relief work was not routed through the centralized Gujarat Relief Committee. The affidavit goes on to say the SIT's finding is there was a larger political objective, one which was to destabilize the then state government of Gujarat and the chief minister at that time, Narendra Modi. Let me go across to our guests who are joining us on the Super Saturday debate. Shehzad Poonawala, spokesperson of the BJP, Swapnil Kothari, lawyer, joining us. Ajay Umat, senior journalist. And Tausif Ahmed Khan, advocate and political analyst, also joining us. Shehzad, I'll start with you first. Pretty damning findings this in the SIT, but you heard from the Congress's spokesperson, Mr. Kheda, a moment ago. He is saying that all of this is being done just before the Gujarat election.
You see, whatever has been disclosed by the SIT, if I was to summarize it, Zaka, it becomes that Congress and Sonia were the mukhya kirdar. Miss Teesta Setalwad was the kalakar and Ahmed Patel was merely the sutradhar. He was the Mohra, but behind the Mohra, the hand was of Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi. And there was a 4D conspiracy. The conspiracy to defame the people of Gujarat, the conspiracy to divide the people of India on communal lines, the conspiracy to destabilize the Gujarat government and elected government, and the conspiracy to dismiss the Gujarat government. And this 4D conspiracy was done by 2G, one Rahul Ji and one Sonia Ji. And it is not just the SIT. The SIT has made a submission before the court. But here is what the Supreme Court has said. For 16 years, the pot was kept boiling to sensationalize and politicize. It was a nexus of people like Setalwad, Sanjeev Bhatt and R.B. Sri Kumar who fabricated evidence. They tutored witnesses. They emotionally exploited Zakia Jafri. That this was a vindictive persuasion. Therefore, I call it not public interest litigation. It was a paisa interest litigation. 30 lakhs was exchanged. It was a prayojit interest litigation. There was Padma Shri being rewarded. There was talk of Rajya Sabha. And it was an entire political interest litigation only done to target Narendra Modi. But in the attempt to target Narendra Modi ji, they targeted the people of Gujarat. And therefore, today, Congress party is so ashamed they are not even coming on TV panels.
No, so I want to make that official that the Congress party has said that they are not going to be taking part in debates on this issue. But I want to go across to Tausif Ahmed Khan. Tausif, look at what the SIT is saying, and I'll read from it. The political objective of the applicant, in this case Teesta Setalwad, while enacting this larger conspiracy, was the dismissal or the destabilization of the elected government of Gujarat by hook or crook, for which the applicant had obtained illegal financial as well as other benefits from the rival political party in lieu of her attempts to wrongly implicate many persons, including then Chief Minister of Gujarat. It can't be more damning than this.
Zaka, the charge is that BJP state government of Gujarat was under threat and that there was an attempt to destabilize or dismiss that government. But we all saw that post Godhra, none of the BJP government fell. There was no destabilization, there was no dismissal of BJP government post Godhra. But BJP, on the contrary, is responsible for the horse trading, for destabilizing, for dismissing governments, elected governments in Maharashtra, in Madhya Pradesh, in Karnataka, and they are carrying on with their attempt.
Tausif, that's a different. That's a different matter altogether. I'm asking a simple question. The SIT is saying, and you're free to dismiss those claims, but the SIT is saying that there were multiple meetings that Setalwad had with Congress leader Ahmed Patel, including in Ahmedabad. She was first given 5 lakh rupees in the first instance by one witness on the instructions of Mr. Patel, and subsequently she was given 25 lakh rupees. Now, I want to know, what is your position on this?
No, the BJP must clarify where did they get all the money from to put those MLAs they took away from Maharashtra. They were lodged in Assam 5-star hotel. Where were they getting all these money from?
But Tausif, what has that got to do with Teesta Setalwad?
And it's a
manufactured story. What has that got to do with the money that allegedly was paid off to Teesta Setalwad by Ahmed Patel?
Because these are all concocted, fabricated, manufactured theories that BJP themselves are doing in practice, and then using this practical experience to concoct a story and to blame Teesta Setalwad.
For what?
And
come
up with these
what
materials.
do they gain out of it? Anyway, Swapnil Kothari, I want to read one more portion of that affidavit that's been filed. This is from the SIT. This is in her bail matter. It says, and I quote,
and the SIT chief was rewarded.
That is a different SIT. That's a different SIT. That is the Supreme Court appointed SIT. Mr. Raghavan, the former CBI director, was the head of that SIT. This is a different SIT.
Yes, one who gave the clean sheet to the so-called chief minister.
Let's have our facts at least correct. That's a different SIT. This is a different one. But let me read this, Swapnil.
Swapnil,
once again, Tausif, please, I'm lowering your fader. Swapnil, 2 days later, in a meeting conducted in the Government Circuit House in Shahibag between late Shri Ahmed Patel and applicant Tista, by this said witness, had handed over 25 lakh rupees more to the applicant on the instructions of late Ahmed Patel. Now, here is the interesting part. This cash money was given to the applicant. It was not part of any relief related because all relief material was coming through a centralized Gujarat Relief Committee. So then why was Setalwad getting this amount of money as is being alleged by the SIT?
Well, Zaka, the answer is very clear. Obviously, there was some ulterior motive behind giving this huge amount of cash to Tista Setalwad. And if the Gujarat, if the prosecution proves that this was actually the case with appropriate witnesses being put in the box and with some further evidence, in addition to buttressing what they have said in the affidavit, then I'm sure that the defense will have a tough time getting the bail for Tista on Monday. I believe the bail application is there on Monday up for hearing. So this is, very, very clear that the Supreme Court has perforated through the defense at that time itself when they made that statement. Very, very bold statement the Supreme Court made very openly. Usually the court shies away from making these kind of observations, but it did so. That means it was extremely exasperated at that. And obviously all of these evidences that you pointed out must be there before them. And they have said that 16 years is too long. And all of this seems to be a perfect conspiracy to nail the then chief minister and then continuing this for so long. That is the reason why they came out with what they came out, those strong observations, which further led to, more trouble for Tista Setalwad. And I don't see those.
No, but how do you respond to what the Congress is saying, that these are mere allegations by the SIT? The SIT, of course, is appointed by the state government. This is an attempt to whitewash.
Well, Congress is used to making those kind of statements, especially when, a celebrity's son gets arrested. Then we all say that it's political maneuvering. Okay. Then when Tista Setalwad gets arrested, it's witch hunt. Shameless. Then and all of those things. But I don't want to get into what Congress has to say. They're entitled to say what they wish to say. Okay. And I'm not here for any party. Okay. I'm here for the fact that if there's a fact,
one second, Ajay Umart is also waiting after. One second, I want to go to Ajay Umart. He's been waiting patiently. One thing, Ajay Umart. 1 second, Tausif, please. All right, we don't have Ajay Umart. Okay, let me bring in Shehzad then. Again, the role
Please
of...
ask this question.
One second. I will. Let me ask the question, please. Sir, please. Was rewarded with a diplomatic assignment. Let me ask the questions. Thank you. The SIT has also told court that Tista's meetings with two police persons, Mr. R.B. Srikumar, then ADGP, and Mr. Sanjeev Bhatt, who was the DCI of the State Intelligence Bureau, both of whom had no work pertaining to relief work post the 2002 riots. So why was she meeting them then?
Exactly. And Zaka, this is still an SIT Gujarat which has submitted something on affidavit, which is anyways considered, if they lie, they have to pay a penalty. But let's leave this aside. I am going to the Supreme Court verdict and I want to just read out one line from there. Mr. R.B. Srikumar, in the later affidavits commenting about the functioning of the administration, must be viewed in the context of his denial of career opportunities. Before that, it says about Tista Setalwad, for reasons best known to her and out of vengeance, was interested in continuing with her tirade and persecution on the basis of unsubstantiated allegations in the complaint in the name of the quest for justice, with a real purpose to keep the pot boiling and to politicize the crime. Apart from that, in the Sanjeev Bhatt Supreme Court case, Supreme Court says that this entire is an attempt to influence the court through politics and activism with rival political parties. This is also in Supreme Court. Then there was one so-called favorite journalist of these people. Her favorite book of that favorite journalist was dismissed by saying by the Supreme Court that it has no evidentiary value whatsoever. Finally, let's come to the SIT Gujarat. Now, the SIT Gujarat says a very important thing. In the Haren Pandya case, she lands up, tries to tell the father of Haren Pandya, please sign this. And he says no, because there were innocent people trying to be implicated. Mr. Tausif may have 10 problems with me, but the fact of the matter is that the original SIT, which was constituted by Supreme Court, its closure report was confirmed by trial court, by High Court, by Supreme Court. The Gujarat government said, go ahead and make the SIT, we have no objections. So how can you now today come and say that the Supreme Court is also fixed? This is point number one. Point number two. Today, the Congress party must tell us that the Tista files have opened up. I'll tell you some more payouts that were done. She was given funds from the central ministry by Kapil Sibal by breaking the rules. The MHRD gave her funds for that. She was given other funds which was taken in the name of Gujarat riot victims, that she misused it for champagne and chocolates. There is a case going on to that as well.
No,
she tutored witnesses.
The affidavit also...
Nanumia Malik Kausar Banu case, and then even Rais Khan has come out and said...
affidavit also says that she was rewarded with the Padma Shri in lieu of what she was doing in the 2002 Gujarat riots
Just
cases.
one line, if I may just have one last line. Zaka, today I want an answer. Rahul Gandhi in 2014 said that Mr. Modi is responsible for 2002 riots. None of that is true. Today he should be on this debate, or his representatives, and they should tell us what they're trying to orchestrate this propaganda.
But Tausif, you're a lawyer, so please tell me, when the SIT says that there was blatant fabrication and forgery of documents by persons who were to be prospective witnesses of the complainant, basically they are saying it's a fabrication of documents and evidences, but also of influencing and tutoring witnesses and making them depose on pre-typed affidavits. You as a lawyer know that that is a crime.
Gujarat train burning is also the conspiracy theory of behind Gujarat train burning is also a fabrication declared by another finding by the another SIT of Justice Banerjee. What are you talking about? Today, Mr. Modi is still haunted by the ghost of Gujarat riots, by the ghost of the people who are killed in Gujarat, and still he wants, now it's been so many years, decades, but still it is haunting him, and he wants a clean sheet from the government. That is why
haunting
time
is
and
only in
again...
your mind. The courts have said no such thing.
Sir,
And by the way...
the clean sheet has come already from the Supreme Court.
No, 3 levels of court. But by the way, the Delhi riots, 1984 riots, the Delhi High Court held the government of that time
Supreme
responsible.
Court
He has
did
not a word to offer
go
about
in
that.
trial of any of the riot cases of Gujarat. So Supreme Court never conducted trial of any Gujarat riot cases. So please do not say
when
clean sheet has come from
Zakia
Supreme Court.
Jafri's petition
These
went
are
all the
SIT
way up to the
appointed by
Supreme
the state
Court,
government.
just a few
State
weeks ago,
government
the court
judges
gave an
who are
order.
under the control of the state government.
It was a
These are the
three-judge
SITs
bench.
headed by people under the control of the chief minister.
Three-judge bench
How will
of
they rule
the
against
Supreme
same chief
Court,
minister?
Tausif, it was a three-judge bench of the Supreme Court which gave the verdict exactly a month ago on Zakia Jafri's petition.
And Kapil Sibal appeared. Kapil Sibal was the lawyer.
Tausif.
We know what state Supreme Court is in under Prime Ministership of Modi ji. This Supreme Court senior most judges came out in a press conference and said that all is not right in the Supreme Court. We cannot forget that.
No.
Not
Now you're
long
making
ago,
allegations
just a couple
against the
of
Supreme
years
Court.
ago, top senior judges of the Supreme Court
Now you're
held
making
a press
allegations
conference
against the Supreme
and
Court.
said that all is not right in Supreme Court.
No. That is not acceptable. If you sir, these are allegations against Supreme Court judges. These are very grave. These are very grave matters. These are very grave matters. Let me go back to.
Please do not sell your soul, Zaka. Let us be truthful.
Let me go to Ajay Umat. Let me go to Ajay Umat. Ajay Umat, what is being said in this affidavit is there were multiple meetings that Teesta Satalwad had with Ahmed Patel, and that money was given to her on 2 occasions at least. That's what this affidavit
is no more
says.
Alive to defend himself.
One second, Tausif, let me do this debate, please. Ajay Umat, what the Congress is saying is, if you had this information, why did you not reveal this when Ahmed Patel was alive? It's been 5 years since he died. How come you have this information now and you're releasing this to the public?
Look, the same witnesses have said, we all know that, they are hostile now. But I don't want to go into that matter because it is a sub judice. But the fact remains that in Gujarat, we have assembly elections. And this would become a very, very emotional issue in 2022 December elections in Gujarat, and BJP may get advantage out of it. The way, in 2007, Sonia Gandhi said that Modi is a maut ka saudagar, and he turned out to be a vote ka saudagar because, it has created a lot of emotional appeal. So this time also, because, BJP is now making it an issue that, Sonia Gandhi is at the behest of Sonia Gandhi, Ahmed Bhai did this, and, it was an attempt to destabilize BJP's government or to destabilize Mr. Narendra Modi's government. I think in 2022 December election, BJP will get advantage out of this.
No, but Ajay, the political argument is you can have it one of 2 ways. Either the BJP wants to brush this under the carpet and rewrite the history of 2002 Gujarat riots, or you are saying they will derive the political benefit out of it. Both of it can't be true. Only one of it can be true.
No, look, BJP will get advantage of this because BJP will play a victim card in this case, that look, they were trying to tarnish the image of Mr. Narendra Modi and Bharatiya Janata Party, that you have engineered all these things. So they continued to fight this battle for 20 years, and now because they will be exhibiting that, look, we have got a clean sheet from Supreme Court, and whatever we are doing at the direction of Supreme Court, that we are taking this action.
But
and
here is the thing that I don't understand, and Shehzad, please weigh in. I don't know. I mean, I don't come from Gujarat, but I've covered elections there. I don't think anyone in Gujarat is going to vote either for BJP or against BJP basis allegations against Ahmed Patel. He's been dead for the last 5 years. I mean, I can't remember the last time he contested a direct election. I think it was in the 80s. One second, to Shehzad.
No, to cynically reduce this entire issue as an exercise in election and vote getting is absolutely uncalled for. I think this is an issue of justice. Justice A for the people who suffered, and justice B for the people who were unfairly targeted. And that doesn't mean Narendra Modi ji. CM Narendra Modi ji was rewarded by the people of India already, but the people of Gujarat and a people of a particular community were made to become like villains, and therefore I think there has to be restitution about that too. And these people have committed 10 big riots against Muslims during the Congress regime: Nelli, Hashimpura, Bhagalpur, Mariana, Meerut, and there was a genocide of Sikhs in 1984. No place justice was ensured, and today they made this entire propaganda. It was a cottage industry of hate and propaganda, and that exists even today, except the issues have become internationalized. So today Tausif Rahman Khan or Taisif Khan should come out and apologize on behalf of Rahul Gandhi, for defaming people of Gujarat, defaming Hindus, and also attacking innocent people unnecessarily.
Tausif, again, I go back to what the SIT is saying. It says the ocular evidence collected by the investigating officer points to several meetings that were conducted in Delhi with political leaders after riots, wherein it was discussed by the accused applicant, in this case Teesta, with leaders of a prominent national party in power to implicate the names of senior leaders of the BJP government in the state of Gujarat. This is a sworn affidavit that they have given to court, by the way.
Zaka, no SIT in India can declare that Narendra Modi was not the chief minister of Gujarat when Gujarat was burning. And as long as Modi cannot get an SIT to declare that, Modi will be responsible for the Gujarat riot. He cannot shun his responsibility as the chief executor of the state, as the chief minister of the state. He is responsible for every
by that logic, there were 3 days of riots in Bengal, your home state, after the 2021 elections. Who is responsible for that?
Riots, the ghost of Gujarat riot will continue to haunt Narendra Modi in the parliament where he sleeps. He will spend sleepless nights, and the
Swapnil Kothari, final word.
Will continue to
again,
haunt him.
I keep saying this, if the Supreme Court appointed SIT has given him a clean sheet, and now no less than a 3-judge bench last month, said that this was an international conspiracy to keep the pot boiling, then I don't know what else the opposition is asking for.
Well, the opposition is asking for some sort of a make-believe defense where they really would like to sit in the corner and believe that what they are saying is absolutely true, but that doesn't function in a democracy. That's number one. Number two is that all the evidences that you pointed out, fabrication of evidence, forging of documents, tutoring of witnesses, making typed affidavits and making people sign, all of these are extremely gross things to put on an affidavit. And I'm sure they know what they're doing when they're putting this on an affidavit, on a sworn affidavit. Otherwise, if you cannot buttress those allegations, then you would be definitely held up for perjury. Thirdly, as far as the Supreme Court proceedings are concerned, or an internal problems of the Supreme Court are concerned, the very same Congress party acting through Mr. Kapil Sibal had withdrawn those applications at that point in time. Fourthly and lastly, let me tell you something, that, as far as the ghosts haunting Mr. Narendra Modi are concerned, I'm sure he's got great exorcists to exercise any ghosts who are there, if they're at all haunting him at all.
Okay, so, we'll leave it at that. I want to thank Swapnil Kothari, Shehzad Poonawala, Ajay Umart and Tausif Ahmed for joining us. We'll see how this story plays out. The bail application for hearing comes up on Monday. Meanwhile, the other big political story tonight, after picking Draupadi Murmu as the presidential candidate, the NDA now has picked Jagdeep Dhankar as the vice presidential candidate. With a public service career spanning 3 decades, Jagdeep Dhankar is currently the governor of Bengal, a post he's held since 2019. He's been dubbed by the BJP as Kisan Putra and the people's governor. Prime Minister Modi tweeted that Jagdeep Dhankar is a man known for his humility. He also said that Dhankar brings with him an illustrious legal, legislative and gubernatorial career and was always have worked for the well-being of farmers, youth, women and the marginalized. The last date of nomination is July the 19th. The election for Vice President will be held on the 6th of August.
सभी नामों पर गौर करने के बाद हम सब लोग और भारतीय जनता पार्टी की संसदीय बोर्ड इस निष्कर्ष पर पहुंची है कि उपराष्ट्रपति पद के लिए भारतीय जनता पार्टी और एनडीए के प्रत्याशी के रूप में हमारे किसान पुत्र श्री जगदीप धनखड़ जी को हम उपराष्ट्रपति पद के लिए अपना प्रत्याशी के रूप में घोषित करते हैं।
भारतीय जनता पार्टी की लोकसभा और राज्यसभा दोनों में अथाह मेजॉरिटी है। वाइस प्रेसिडेंट के चुनाव में सिर्फ राज्यसभा और लोकसभा के लोग ही मेंबर्स ही वोट देते हैं, इसलिए उनका उम्मीदवार वाइस प्रेसिडेंट जीत ही जाएगा, इसमें कहीं कोई दो राय नहीं है। लेकिन जिसको उन्होंने उम्मीदवार बनाया है वो इस आधार पे नहीं बनाया कि वो कोई कॉम्पिटेंट आदमी है, वो कोई देश के हित में है। वो जो भी फैसला करते हैं वो भारतीय जनता पार्टी के हित में, सिर्फ राजनीतिक फैसला है कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी को इससे क्या फायदा पहुंचेगा।
Explain to our viewers the choice of Jagdeep Dhankar. What is the calculation and why him?
If you see Mr. Dhankar's role in West Bengal, a state that has seen near collapse of law and order and the gruesome post-poll violence, he stuck steadfastly to the constitutionally laid down principles, irrespective of what Mamata Banerjee and the TMC government may have said about Jagdeep Dhankar and accused him of stepping over the line. He was someone who never breached the constitutional limits. He did not ever step out of his realm as governor. And I think that is incredible quality for someone to occupy the vice president's office. That experience, that legal understanding, that acumen that he brings is quite unparalleled. Having said that, he naturally represents the aspiration of the farming community. He is a Jat by caste. He comes from Rajasthan. He's somebody who is a self-made man, ticks a lot of boxes, is somebody who's widely seen as a man who will add to the heft of the vice president's office. It is for Mamata Banerjee to decide if she wants to support or oppose Mr. Dhankar, because she's not had the best of relationship with him. But just like the presidential candidate, we will ensure that our vice president nominee says through.
And Mr. Mitra, your first reaction, Jagdeep Dhankar has been nominated by the NDA to be the vice presidential candidate.
Let me make it very crystal clear to you.
Yeah.
It is a very sensitive matter, and the decision of our party will be taken by Ms. Mamata Banerjee only. So in this matter, so far we are concerned, we don't like to make any comment. Only I could say that Mr. Dhankar did not play any active role so far the Bengal is concerned, and she did do nothing good with which the Bengalis are happy.
CNN News 18 is New India's #1 news choice. Trounces, Times Now and Republic TV.
Did you manifest this pan-Indian film? You signed on 2018, let's tell everyone. 2-3 people who don't know, he signed on 2018 before KGF.
2-3 people means only 2-3 people watch your show?
No, yeah, 2-3 people who don't know that you, okay. They all know your trivia. Na? We all know trivia about you.
Point.
We all know too much.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's your question though?
That you signed this on before KGF, before Bahubali, no, before RRR, after Bahubali. So were you prescient? Did you know that this is the kind of film Indian audiences are going to like?
Unfortunately, I didn't write the film, so so actually he was someone who was, I guess, above.
Ekta and me.
Ekta and him were ahead of the curve. But at the time that it came to me, it seemed very exciting. You know, I felt very lucky to be offered a film like this. Yeah, and here we are sitting about the film, very excited. 22nd July, the film releases, and the 2-3 people who don't know that, you know, it's an action entertainer, it's a badass, entertaining film, and I hope everyone enjoys it.
Don't try to wrap up just yet.
क्यों हो गया? पीछे से बोले ना?
No one is saying. No one is saying. Lio is just.
He's playing with your psyche all along.
He does. Does he do this on sets as well?
No,
do you
no,
guys
no.
feel very demotivated when you go home?
See, I've realized
demotivated. What is happening?
I wake up motivated.
Okay. And then you meet Ranbir.
Yeah. I'm fine.
See,
He's been demotivating me since
Every
morning.
time you do interviews, you always ask the masti-khor questions. So when I'm allowed to do masti, why only you're allowed?
That's fine. That's fine. But don't pretend on sets you're like very disciplined,
Why
very
do I have to
sweet,
pretend?
introvert.
Have you been on my set?
You're very disciplined on your set.
I don't know. Ask them. Am I?
Yeah.
He's very disciplined. No, genuinely he is. Genuinely.
Above.
It's a shocking transition that happens.
Okay, fine. It's a question I asked. Good to know.
She doesn't want to receive the answer, but she's living with it.
Okay. And as a co-star, he's okay.
Yeah, just about okay.
Just about okay.
He manages.
Manages. We manage. We jail him.
We sail through.
I know you did Kathak for this film. You prepared for this film.
I did.
What
Few
about
sessions.
you? You prepared?
I prepared falling down in a chair. For 6 months, I was just falling down chairs.
It's a larger than life role, and you're so real.
No,
You're
let's.
too
I mean,
real.
on a serious note, this film came with a lot of challenges because it's a part which I've never done in my life. In the 15-year career that I've had, I'm playing 2 characters, Shamshera and Obali. It was a character which was filled with angst. It's something which angst doesn't naturally come.
Welcome to yet another edition of Bits to Billions. Now, it's rare to find a unicorn in the manufacturing space in India that has ambitions of making in India for the world. But that's the difference here with Zetwork. We have the co-founder and CEO Amit Acharya, who wants to bring together OEMs and EPC firms with small and medium enterprises and really help manufacture components for a wide array of industries. Amrit, welcome to the show. What do we have right here? Which industry does this go in? Do these components go into?
Yeah, so these specific products are called jaws and fixtures. They are used for holding machine components together. This is primarily for automobile industry, aerospace industry, and the space industry. More broadly, some of the things we make in this factory ultimately go into the fuselage of an aircraft, or they go into the fuel injection systems of various kind of automobile components.
Right. Is it exciting to, train for engineering and actually do engineering, because we see so many people doing civil and mechanical and aerospace and ultimately crossing over to software and internet?
I mean, I was part of that trend. Like, I graduated with a degree in electrical engineering, but I ended up doing nothing close to electrical engineering for many years. In fact, I was at McKinsey for a bit. But at my heart, I always felt that calling, that I really liked building things using my bare hands sometimes, and we wanted, when I came back from the US to India, building a company which held true to those roots in my case was very important for me.
What I also wanted to ask you, Amrit, is if I look at your own trajectory, right? As you said, you did electrical engineering, you have roots in Odisha.
Yes.
Then you went to IIT Madras, you worked at ITC, then you did your masters abroad, you worked at McKinsey, And then you decide to come back in India in an industry which is all about forging and casting and machining and fabrication. You can call it, you know, unsexy at a time when we've seen so many people do internet startups.
Yes.
So why did you decide to choose an unsexy industry, so to speak, you know, the road less traveled?
In my first job at ITC was to build a new factory for them. In fact, when I joined, they had just bought the land, and over the next 2 years, built a lot of the buildings, bought a lot of the machines, hired a lot of people. And I really fell in love with manufacturing back then. I did that for 2 years, and then, you know, I took a detour after that. But when I was looking to come back to from the US to India, I looked back at what I had done before. And my co-founder Srinath, his family business was also into manufacturing. His father ran a small manufacturing unit, not that different from this one where we are here today. So while it was unsexy, for us it was very sexy because we understood the pain points in a way which it felt unique to us. It felt very authentic to us that these are problems we are passionate about. I certainly had felt that between the time I was doing this work at ITC to today, nothing much had changed in this industry. And I felt that I wanted to drive some change there.
Right. Amrit, the name Zetwork means strong foundation. How did you come up with it?
Yeah, so when we're looking for a name, if you look at the history of the manufacturing industry, a lot of the companies are good companies, are European or American companies. Even L&T was started by 2 Danish engineers, Larsen and Toubro. Of course, it was a strong foundational Indian company. So we wanted a name which was European to signify excellence.
To signify quality.
To signify quality, and Zetwork actually means strong foundations in Dutch. It also rhymes with network, so it was a great combination of all factors.
Right, and you know, today if I look at your client roster, right, it has the who's who from the world of manufacturing, EPC, from L&T to BHEL to GE to even Flipkart. How tough was it to go to these giants and convince them that, you know, we are a 3-year-old startup, 2-year-old startup, and we will make these things for you?
Yeah. So these things take time. You know, while we see the ultimate output of all the hard work that goes into company building process, the reality is these are never overnight successes. You know, there's a quote I like: it takes 15 years to become an overnight success. And in some cases, that's very true for us. Like a lot of these companies, we have taken our time to feel confident that we can service these customers over a period of time, and vice versa from their side to us. Like a lot of the questions we get initially are, hey, where is your factory? And then we have to explain people the model, like, look, this is a different way of getting your products manufactured. Ultimately, what do you care about? You care about quality, you care about timelines, you care about price. We will meet all of those 3 requirements, but the way we do it is slightly different from what you may have experienced before. Now that's a journey. Some companies understand that, and those are your early adopters, and some companies take a little bit more time. But what we have been able to demonstrate time and again is that the model works. You know, in fact, we are sometimes better than their existing alternatives because we diversify the risk of manufacturing across many suppliers. A single order at Zetwork does not go to a single supplier; it goes to 5, 10 suppliers, and so we are often 10x faster than what they would have experienced by themselves. So it starts small. Every customer gives us a small order only at the beginning, but what we see is over a period of time, they 10x their business volumes with us over a year.
Right. Amrit, we are also talking at a point where, you know, if you look at the macro, people are talking about fears of a recession in the US. Even in India, there is worry of inflation, the impact, the knock-on effects that it has. Startups, you know, you live in the startup hub, so I'm sure you're hearing a lot about layoffs and funding winter. Where does Zetwork really stand here? Because in a sense, your fortunes are tied to, you know, the macroeconomic scenario, the macro environment. So how are you kind of navigating this tough phase?
Yeah, I mean, so couple of things. One is, you know, we turned profitable as a business last year. We have not announced these results publicly yet, but they'll be public soon. And we did it. It was not the flavor of the season, to your point. You know, there was a lot of emphasis on growth. While we also grew a lot last year, we grew profitably. And hence, in some way, our destiny is under our control because we can choose to go aggressive or not. and we don't have to rely on some of these extreme measures that you talked about, because in some way our destiny is under our control. That being said, we've done a few other things. Our business is very diversified. One is across all these industries. We serve oil and gas, we serve aerospace, we serve auto, we serve infrastructure, we serve consumer electronics. While there is recession, there's no recession which is universal across all sectors. There is cyclicalities within sectors. So some go up, some go down.
So some will hedge you if the others...
Yeah, we have a lot of natural hedge. Secondly, almost 25% of our business comes from the US and Europe.
But isn't that going to be a worry? Because everybody is talking about how US itself will slip into a recession.
Yeah. Now, we are certainly seeing that to some extent. Like some of our US customers, the pace at which they were doing business with us, there is a difference between this year and last year. That being said, we are also big in India. So what I mean is there are hedges. There are pockets, times when US will be very strong, which is what we saw last year. This year US may be a little bit soft, but that's when our India business kind of takes over. We are also diversifying into Middle East, we're diversifying into Europe.
Yeah.
So the idea is that, look, these are very hard things to predict. You know, which industry will do well at any point in time, which country will do well at any point in time. Our idea is to build a resilient business where each of these things by themselves don't significantly affect the...
But will you also have to lay off, or are you hiring, or are you
we are business as usual. There is no change in how we are operating.
And you're capitalized as well because you raised a...
We have, you know, we have raised close to $500 million over the last 4 years, and most of it is in the bank, and we are profitable, so we're in a good place.
Amit, I also wanted to get your thoughts on, you know, what is it about the air at IIT Madras that it seems to produce a lot of these interesting deep tech startups. Of course, you have Zetwork, then you have Sridhar Vembu of Zoho, who also wants to reimagine R&D and manufacturing in India. Then you have very interesting space tech startups like, you know, Agnikul Cosmos and Galaxy Eye.
You have Aether also.
Yeah. So what is it about IIT Madras that seems to produce more of these deep tech startups?
IIT Madras historically, at least to my knowledge, has had a very strong technical orientation. So a lot of the people we looked up to were people who used to go for doing their PhDs in Stanford or Berkeley or some of these places. And they were doing PhD in very technical fields. So in some way we are emulating them in a more business context. We are solving really technical problems that way. IIT Madras also did something really well 10 years back when I was still in college. They introduced this thing called Center for Innovation, which was specifically for hardware kind of oriented companies. And today there is a thriving ecosystem of, I know people who are designing wheelchairs, people who are designing EVs, people who are designing, some of the professors have become entrepreneurs. And a professor becoming an entrepreneur will not start a food delivery company. They will start something which is in their specialization. So that's part of the culture at IIT Madras.
How were you in college? You used to take part in the Sarang and Shastra, or were you?
I was in Sarang. We had this thing called Core Group, which was designing the festival. I was in charge of getting money for them. So in some way, nothing has changed. Fundraising in some way I learned at Sarang. At Shastra, we had these lot of programs. One of this thing called Junkyard Wars, which is basically we went to a workshop and built a vehicle from scratch. We won second prize there when I was in my second year, and through that I got an internship at Bosch. So I've been very hands-on, technical, quote unquote, in my entire journey that way.
Founded in 2018 by Amit Acharya, Srinath Ramakrishnan, Rahul Sharma and Vishal Chaudhary, Zetwork is a manufacturing platform connecting original equipment manufacturers and engineering procurement construction customers across India, North America and Southeast Asia with small and medium-sized enterprises. It is present in categories such as fabrication, machining, casting and forging. It helps customers in procuring custom products which are not available off the shelf, real-time tracking and project management all the way till delivery. It has over 100 clients in North America, ranging from small enterprises to large conglomerates. It makes nail clippers for one company, for instance, seen as a niche market, but used widely at the same time. Most of its founders have a background at the IITs or ITC. It recently elevated Ankit Fatehpuria as its 5th co-founder.
Vishal, Rahul, Ankit, thank you very much for joining us on Bits to Billions. So, very interesting composition of founders. You all either have an IIT connection or an ITC connection. So, tell us a little about that. How did that come about? And ITC especially seems to be seems to have a very strong bond with Zetwork.
Yeah, so I mean, after IIT we went to ITC. That was our first job as management trainees. Coincidentally, between me, Srinath and Amrit, we had the same boss. And we had the same location, Guntur.
Was the boss so bad that all of you had to leave?
No, actually, he also happens to be an angel investor in our company. Okay. So we bonded very well with him. And financial independence, first job, 3 of us would go to bar together, would talk about love life together. So that's how we became very close. Eventually, we parted ways. People went on their different directions. But when we thought of starting something, this gang was the first group we'd reach out to.
And you also have an ITC.
Yeah, so I didn't work with them. What happened when they moved out of ITC? Then I moved to a new office where my boss was the same Vishal is talking about.
Okay, this boss seems to be the glue.
Yeah, and that boss referred Ankit.
Yes.
Please take him.
Yes, yes.
But Ankit, do you feel a little left out? I mean, there are like 2 IIT Madras and 1 IIT Kharagpur and...
Absolutely not. I am super comfortable. If there was one more chartered accountant in the gang, then probably I would have felt a little uncomfortable. But it's like one...
Now he kind of can reign supreme as the sole chartered accountant.
Of course. I was the one who wasn't part of the ITC gang, right? I ended up working with Srinath at Blackbuck. And that's how the connection came into existence. So I'm the only one who is not from an ITC, I'm from Blackbuck.
So there's an IIT, ITC and a Blackbuck
exactly,
mafia play here. So the cliche goes that, two's company, three's crowd. Here you have 5 co-founders. Srinath is not here. But how does the dynamic work? Is it like too many co-founders in one go, or is it just, you guys doing your separate thing?
Yeah, so I think we are very clearly defined as we have evolved over the last 3.5 years on what mandate each of us run in the company. So I run the whole industrial mandate. Rahul runs the consumer mandate, and Ankit runs the whole upstream mandate for the company. So that way our boundaries are very clearly defined, the asks are very clearly defined, and but at the same time it always helps to dig each other's head to take inputs on what is it that if I need help on something I would go to Rahul or an Ankit. But the boundaries of work are fairly clearly defined. So that way it has worked for us so far.
And to add to that, right, of course in the initial days you would find it difficult because you're new folks who have come in again to work together. But we decided in the very first go that when we take a decision, the decision has to be about the company. We put the company first above all of us. So in that way, whenever you call out that, hey, are you putting the company first, the decision making becomes easier. And that's the alignment that has been working for all of us.
So who has the final veto or the vote among the 5?
We don't have that culture of final veto or vote. It's always comes as a group consensus.
Yeah, we try to convince each other on certain things. And for example, if I raise out few risks or if I raise out few doubts, everyone tries to convince and then take a call for the company. Right? If it's in the end making sense for the company, why not? Right? How can it happen that I might feel it's not working for the company and someone else might feel it works? Right? Ideally, both have to align. So the culture is to align and drive it together rather than to take unilateral decisions.
Yeah, I don't remember any event where we had to put something to vote.
We have a culture of disagree and commit, but rarely it happens. When we walk out of the room, we agree and walk out.
Okay. You also straddle, a very different world because you have part of the old economy with you. That's the segment you service. But you're also trying to marry that with the software solutions you have for tracking and so on, and matching requirements. So how does this reflect in the kind of hiring that you do?
Yeah, so I think we have very distinct people. On one hand, like you said, software engineers who were coding for a very different kind of a company before, and now they are working with us. And on the other hand, hardcore technocrats to build refineries or some of that stuff. But I think as founders, what we have been able to drive is the marrying of these two very independent worlds, and both see a lot of value. Because see, historically, industrial as a segment has never got a lot of love from the technology side, right? There are not many softwares, there are not many tools to ease the way they do their jobs.
Right.
Another aspect I would like to add is, in a lot of these industrial full stack conventional companies like L&T, Tata and all, the freshers or the mid-level managers, when they come from their college, want to implement some sort of a technology, want to change the way of working, they don't get that liberty because these companies run with their own long SOPs. But over here, that flexibility and our mindset is technology, So even the guys who join us in the ops role, they get that liberty to, kind of do the same thing in a different way, marry technology and business together.
While we are not doing logistics yet, but we have started experiments with working capital, with procurement, etc. And increasingly, they will be a part of our strategy moving forward.
To say that.
I was just flying high in like taking those leaps and jumps and all.
Very beautiful, very ethereal, I have to say. And Ranbir, now this is a pan-India film. I want to say.
Who said it's a pan-India film?
It's a pan-India film, right?
Who
You're
says
releasing in so many languages, not pan-India.
It's pan-world.
Pan-world, okay. Pan-universe.
Pan-universe, multi-universe.
Multi-universe. Did you manifest this pan-Indian film? You signed on 2018, let's tell everyone. 2-3 people who don't know, he signed on 2018 before KGF.
2-3 people means only 2-3 people watch your show?
No, yeah, 2-3 people who don't know that you,
okay.
they all know your trivia. Na? We all know trivia about you.
Point.
We all know too much.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's your question though?
That you signed this on before KGF, before Bahubali, no, before RRR, after Bahubali. So were you prescient? Did you know that this is the kind of film Indian audiences are going to like?
Unfortunately, I didn't write the film, so so actually he was someone who was, I guess, above.
Ekta and me.
Ekta and him were ahead of the curve. But at the time that it came to me, it seemed very exciting. I felt very lucky to be offered a film like this. Yeah, and here we are sitting about the film, very excited. 22nd July the film releases, and the 2-3 people who don't know that it's a action entertainer, it's a badass entertaining film, and I hope everyone enjoys it.
Don't try to wrap up just yet.
क्यों हो गया? पीछे से बोले ना?
No one is saying. Lio is just.
He's playing with your psyche all along.
He does. Does he do this on sets as well?
No,
do you
no,
guys
no.
feel very demotivated when you go home?
See, I've realized
demotivated. What is happening?
I wake up motivated.
Okay. And then you meet Ranbir.
Yeah. I'm fine.
See,
He's been demotivating me since morning.
Every time you do interviews, you always ask the masti-core questions. So when I'm allowed to do masti, why only you're allowed?
That's fine. But don't pretend on sets. You're like very disciplined, very sweet, introvert.
Have you been on my set?
You're very disciplined on your set.
I don't know. Ask them. Am I?
Yeah.
He's very disciplined. No, genuinely, he is genuinely.
Above.
It's a shocking transition that happens.
Okay, fine. It's a question I asked. Good.
When I look at Zetwork, apart from the lines of business you have today, the obvious derivative use cases would also be around logistics or procurement materials. Yeah. Is it something that you're already doing in a big way, something that you will perhaps double down on going forward?
We are doing bits and pieces of it. So if you look at our business from a supplier lens, if you look at the SME as the heart of our business, in some way we are giving new orders to that small manufacturer.
Yeah.
But that's not the only thing that they need. Once they get an order, we feel that the ecosystem to execute that order is broken in our country. Whether it's logistics, whether it's procurement, whether it's working capital, there's a host of services which a typical small manufacturer needs, which are missing in the country today. Over a period of time, we have started to think about our business that way. Like of course, we start by increasing the revenue of that entity. If they were doing 1 crore of business last year, via Zetwork, this year they'll do 1.5 crores, 2 crores. But over and above, how can we help them execute that better? So while we are not doing logistics yet, but we have started experiments with working capital, with procurement, etc. And increasingly, they will be a part of our strategy moving forward. The idea is to build an operating system for manufacturing.
So credit, B2B.
Credit, helping them buy raw materials better at a faster speed. See, one thing we realized when we were looking at our data, when you give an order to a SME to make a product from start to finish, there are, let's say, 10 steps in that journey from step 1 to step 10. 80% of the delays happened in step 1 itself, which is buying the raw material. People were taking long time to buy that raw material. And why was that? For various reasons, that their cash was stuck, they were waiting to get the best rates, etc. And that's when we realized, right, to solve for our customer experience, because our customers value on-time delivery, they value quality. Ultimately, if we, the things are breaking at the last mile. And if we really want to make a dent, we actually have to solve this problem at some point in our time. We can do it through partnerships. We don't have to do everything ourselves.
In terms of policy, what do you think needs to be done better for manufacturing companies like yours in terms of improving the ease of doing business?
Sure. No, I feel like fundamentally there's been, I mean, we have seen the business from last 3-4 years only, so we didn't know what existed before. But certainly things like GST, things like PLI, which is an incentive scheme by the government to encourage production of various items in India. These are certainly real impact that we are seeing. Like, I'll give a simple example. With GST, what has happened? Prior to GST, the country was very localized. Like, if you were a manufacturer based in southern India, your market was limited to southern India because it was very difficult with excise and VAT. But today the country has opened up. So your market has become, there's one tax. And because of that, the market has opened up in a big way. And we are seeing supply chains being reconstructed as we speak. And definitely we find ourselves at the right place at the right time. You know, some of this we did not anticipate. But it has been a big game changer, at least as far as manufacturing is concerned. And secondly, you know, there are things like if you're creating a new manufacturing entity, there are a lot of tax rebates. The taxation that you're subject to is lower than a normal new corporate. And things like PLI, which encourage production. And production can be both for domestic and for exports. The only thing is we have to be a little patient. These things don't happen overnight. Like even GST, it's a 4-year, 5-year process. We are starting to see the impact of these things today. Every month we are setting, the government is setting records in terms of GST collections. But these things take time. Certainly the intent is very strong. That's what I can say.
But any challenges that you see that, you know, can be done better in terms of the ease of doing business as someone who's in the manufacturing space today?
Nothing in particular that stands out. I think there is of course a process for everything, and those processes have been set for various reasons, historically reasons. So it's not up to us to question those. I think the more importantly than looking back, it's important to look forward. And I think
be long-term impatient, long-term patient, as you said. But if I look at the first, it's just been 4 years since you started. You've already had a pivot, and now you're kind of confident about the space that you're operating in. What are the next 4 years or next 10 years going to look like for you in terms of where you want to be?
Yeah, I like to answer this question in a more macro way. Like if you look at various indices for India, if you take steel consumption, it's a very esoteric metric, but the per capita consumption of steel in India is around 70 kgs per person. To put this into context,
I'm not sure how many people will know that statistic.
To put that into context, the world average is 200, 250, and China is close to 400. Which means that at least in our lifetime, if we believe that India will be a 5 trillion, 10 trillion economy, all of these things will grow. Like what we are building is the pipeline of the economy in some way. All of the consumer businesses, all of the other like